All right, ladies and gents, we are officially live. I was too lazy to make a video today. I'm not even gonna lie. It was kind of a writer's block. So going live and answering any questions is more or less the process that I'm gonna go through today instead of making actual videos. Welcome to any of you who have joined. Feel free to ask anything in the chat, and I'm happy to be of service if I can. Yes. A couple of videos I was going to make. Intuitive decision making, releasing fear, dealing with anxiety, anxiousness, team communication systems for remote agencies with 5 to 15 people, gaining momentum and dealing with setbacks. Let's see what else we had here. LinkedIn profile, optimization strategy. I wanted Destiny to make that video. Let's see what else there was. Cash flow management. Those are some of the ideas I was going through. Annette Tepu, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Hello, how are you? Hadir Hussein, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. When can I be coached by you? Well, when Agency Enlightened launches, I guess. Thoughts on lockdown and current affairs. What do you do? All you can do is pretty much just stay positive, be productive, get better. I have many actually more thoughts than that, but I don't want to go deep into conspiracy and stuff that is a giant rabbit hole with no ROI. Calm Mind, love your videos. Thank you so much. Vince. Vince, that is amazing. Godspeed to you scaling that service. How would you go about getting clients at scale? Something to note for anybody who's listening to this, Vince, it's a good question. It's a very common question, but it's so vague. I could answer that in so many ways. If you can be more specific, I can be more helpful to you. But let me give you kind of an example of what I mean here. It depends on where you're at. If you're going from 0 to 20,000 or 0 to 50,000, it's generally speaking going to be different from 50 to 80 or 80 to 120. But getting clients at scale, first of all, I mean, it's going to be a while before you can consistently sign at 2 clients a week, depending on how much work dealing with one client is, because as you sign more clients, you tend to break things. So you kind of need to, all right, so you're at 5,000 with 3 clients and you're looking to get up to 20K per month. So you need to basically quadruple what you're doing. Is that right? 2, 3, 4, yeah, 400% increase. So you need about 12 more clients, probably 10 if you increase your price a little bit. I mean, look at what currently got you 3 clients and try to really double down on that. Referrals is the most simple, low-hanging fruit. But aside from that, Trojan horse marketing is great for outbound. Producing content is great for inbound. So I know that's so simple, but again, when you give kind of a vague question, I can't really give you a specific answer. Otherwise, I don't know if it's helpful for you. Thank you so much, brother. Bubblicious Brooklyn, how much do you make? How old are you? 24 years old. I mean, I pay myself a decent salary, and the agency makes about 100 and I think this month we did 115,000 in revenue with about, right now, so far month to date, we're at 50% profit margins, but it'll probably go down as the month progresses. Calm mind, I'm in the process of building a sales team. Just thinking about utilizing a commission-based model, but I find it hard to execute it effectively. That's a very important thing to think about very deeply for days, because it is a very important thing to put into place. The only tips I have is just to make sure whatever you put in place, you don't change it afterwards, because that can be detrimental to the culture if you put in place a commission structure that's highly rewarding, and then it is rewarding people and people are seeing success with it. And then you're like, holy shit, this is actually giving you guys too much money and we need to remove this. I personally made that mistake. So make sure you look at the model at scale. I didn't do that, and I should have looked at the model at scale. So I know that's pretty basic, but I don't have too much other advice. Hello, Lee. For anybody who's on here, Lee is one of our team members at Better AMS. How are you? Mohanad Anan, currently in Germany. We have a complete lockdown, and I'm thinking about reaching out to international clients, for example, to people in the UAE. What do you think about international outreach? Go for it. I started with international outreach. I started with reaching out to clients in the US. I was in Canada, so it's like barely international if you even want to consider that, because technically it's North America. But we also reached out to people in the UK, Australia. So definitely international, and had great results with it. I think it really depends on the niche and the offer. But in general, I would definitely test it. Would you recommend hiring an account executive? I mean, if you need one, yes. And training them is ideally in the beginning, if it's your first account executive, just shadow. Record your training like over Zoom calls, record it and just kind of show them stuff and shadow and let them watch you do some stuff, explain stuff. If you're hiring your second or third account executive, I mean, you should start building training videos so that you don't have to keep repeating this shadowing process. And you should build, a training system within a tool that can host all that information. We use Loom for recording videos, and right now we're beginning to use Notion very seriously for integrating all of our information into that tool. I really like that tool. That's an amazing tool. But a lot of people get obsessed with tools. Tools are great if you use them. Lee, I'm preparing for work. Cool. As a starting agency, should I go for fixed employees or project-based contracts? I would stay at subcontractors if you're just starting out, Ahmed. Until you have some sustainable revenue, then you can look at hiring people internally, salary-based. Nassim, to answer your question, Nassim, that is not something that I can really answer for you. I think that you should, go through the logical process of thinking through whether or not it is more beneficial for the media buyers to handle content delivery as well as ads. Onboarding Facebook media, should they handle content delivery as well as ads, or should I just content creation and Facebook ads separate? Again, if the creative is very important for the ad, which I think it is in my very limited experience with doing advertising, I've only spent $60,000, $70,000 on ads, not for the agency, for a different company. For our own company, not for clients. For clients, we've spent millions of dollars. But I'm the wrong person to answer that, to be honest with you. So don't take my advice, but trust your logical thought process and come up with your own decision. Reese, will you get the vaccine? Personally, no. I think it's JFK's son, JFK Jr. He's got an Instagram page. He's got a lot of really great data on vaccines. And when you read through the data of the vaccines, I'm kind of just like, you know what? I will probably avoid this. I'm also very much of the belief that, like, I would be completely fine. And so generally, if you believe something is not going to hurt you, it's not going to hurt you. There's people like who have such strong beliefs that drinking strychnine in lethal doses won't kill them, and they haven't died. So yeah, there's some weird stuff that can happen if your beliefs are high enough. I don't recommend anybody does that. Please don't do that. That is not by any means something you should do. It's just there's a lot of weird stuff that happens. What POS do you use to charge your clients? Correct. Stripe is not available. Credit Corp Bank is the bank that we're with, and they have their own internal merchant processing system, Eugenio. How you doing, brother? Hope you're doing well. Do you offer one-on-one coaching at the moment? No. And the reason for that is because it's not very scalable. So that's why we're building Agency Enlightened to have 2 years of coaching calls twice a week in it. So that's what you get with Agency Enlightened is 2 years of coaching calls. And if I was to charge for coaching calls, I would charge like $1,000 an hour just because I don't want to do it. And I don't think the person should pay me it. But if someone really wants to do it, I mean, I'd probably be open to doing like an hour or two a month at most. And but joining the program would be much more beneficial for the person because they would get potentially dozens of hours, probably a lot more over 2 years for much cheaper and much more value. Best organic strategies to attract clients. Figure out the platform that your ideal clients congregate on. Hire a virtual assistant to build a list of those ideal clients and add them every day. And put out content on that platform consistently for 2 years. And you can also do the Trojan horse marketing and reach out to those people. Referrals is also good, but not so consistent. And does not have a very strong half-life. What do you think about pricing? I have an upcoming meeting with a big dentist practice. I'm going to run Facebook, Google ads for them. They have a big and a lot of services. I'm just confused about pricing. Mahanad, I would price relative to what the value is that you think you'll deliver. We like to price $3,000 per month with 2% of advertising revenue generated by better AMS campaigns. So that's what we like to do because we feel it's very fair for the results that we deliver, and it's fair relative to the size of the business. Typically, the businesses we work with are doing a couple $100,000 per month in revenue, and at a couple $100,000 a month in revenue, I mean, their profit margins ideally are above 20%. So they're making healthy profit, and they can afford to pay $3,000. It's very minimal to them. But you just got to play around with pricing and figure out what works for you. I mean, there's no specific one model that is best. I like the hybrid retainer plus commission model personally, but we started out with just retainer for a long time. And then we had the confidence to move to commission. A higher risk, higher reward with commission. But if you structure it right, you can kind of have both worlds. Ajay Kumar. Dude, go watch my video where I talk about freelancing versus agency. Absolutely, you need to start an agency. I mean, if you die, that's it. Like that's it. Like, or if you get sick, dying is too extreme because then that's it. But if you get sick, who's going to do the work? Nobody. You have to do the work. So freelancing is a job. And to some people that's cool, and then maybe that's all they want. But in my opinion, if you're an amazing freelancer, you're doing a disservice to planet Earth within a certain context by not scaling, because you could become so much more and help so many more people in such an amazing way that, dude, why would you not hire people and go bigger? You know, it also allows you to get better. Most people think that like, I grow as an agency and things get worse. Sam Ovens is of that belief that as you scale an agency, it gets worse because you hire more people, and those more people have less time for clients, and then the clients get worse results. It's not true if you invest profits into, R&D and software and stuff. So you'll become a better videographer. What has been one of your biggest mistakes? Has been an important lesson since you're running an agency? I don't know. Biggest mistakes, probably just not understanding the power of people soon enough. And that's also one of the biggest lessons. So there you go. What is the best way to onboard new outsourced staff? Eric, I would just, have a training introductory section for these people. Like, we're trying to build this out in Notion. Right now we have it in like Wistia videos and Loom videos and like Google Docs, and it's kind of a mess. And what we're trying to move to is just a simple section within Notion, like a training Wikipedia essentially within Better AMS. And Notion's really beautiful. And so what we can do is just send this person a link and say, hey, here's your onboarding training. And of course, there will be some human elements to it where like a manager or someone who's training within our company will talk to that person and, do some one-on-one custom stuff that can't really be done through videos. That's obviously needed. But try to get the 80-20 of training done through a link, and then fill in the gaps with shadowing. That's kind of the mental model that we're thinking of. Which platform would you recommend to find VAs? Onlinejobs.ph. It's by far the best platform. Building a sales team, I have no experience in that. We have hired like an SDR before and had an SDR for a year. And technically we have me as sales and Destiny, my partner. Destiny started out as an account executive and became a partner within the agency. And she does sales. She crushes sales. So the way that she learned was primarily just through, I was like, hey, you should buy this course and go through this course. And you should also read some of these books and then do sales calls, because I'm not going to do them and you'll have to do them. And so mainly she learned through, doing sales calls. And that sounds really kind of ridiculous and simple, but at the end of the day, training can really only do so much. What's going to help you build an amazing sales team is just giving them consistent amounts of reps every day, lots of sales calls. And they're obviously like a good, learner type person who is of personal development and can learn from mistakes and learn from things that went well. Patrick, best method to source Ecom leads. What is Ecom leads? Be more specific. It's just like prospects, discovery calls. Always wondering, what is the second picture on the wall? The rainbow? It is the map of consciousness created by Dr. David R. Hawkins. If you haven't read Power versus Force or his more recent book, which is just called The Map of Consciousness. I would recommend reading it. Very, very good. Probably the most life-changing non-business book I've ever read. This is the book. It's a very difficult read because the dude's an absolute genius. But yeah, amazing book. The other one is The Map of Consciousness, which is much easier, and I probably recommend you read that first. David R. Hawkins. What else do you guys got? Ajay, never viewed it that way. Thanks for your input. My main concern right now is that I just don't know if people are willing to pay just for cinematic videos without handling their Facebook ads. Of course they are. Absolutely. There is definitely lots of videographer companies that don't do Facebook ads. If you don't want to do the Facebook ads, don't do it. Just focus on the content. If you can do the Facebook ads and you can do it well, I think that makes your service even more valuable within a certain sense, so long as you can do both very well. Because then you're doing kind of CRO, PPC, conversion rate optimization with PPC. Not really CRO, but great content within ads will typically optimize the ads to be better performing. And the ad management itself is PPC, of course. But you can definitely just do one, and people will definitely just pay you for one. Calm Mind, what % of your agency service delivery are you a part of? 0. Have you completely delegated it? Yes. I haven't managed a client in a couple of years, and I don't say that proudly by any means. I say that actually kind of like maybe I should take on a client, because when you are the founder and it's still a small agency, like we only have maybe 15 employees, team members, and it's kind of a disadvantage for me to not understand our systems and processes in the deepest level extremely well. So if I want to help build out an automation or build out a system, my understanding of our overall machine is less than what it would be if I was managing an account. So there's pros and cons to both. I think that you gotta kind of intuitively decide if now is a good time for you to manage a client. If you are at a level of scale where you never probably have to manage a client ever again in your entire life. So yeah, I was thinking this year I might actually take on a client for the first time in a couple of years, just so I can kind of relearn all of our systems and processes and then help improve them exponentially better. Reese, favorite books on raising your consciousness? All of Dr. David R. Hawkins' books. And How to Become an Adult by, I forget his name, but How to Become Adult is a great book. Where do you find people to run ads for clients in your agency? All over the place. We have competitors, and we, generally speaking, hire from our competitors' agencies who don't have great cultures. Our first account executive that we hired came from a very toxic culture. She then became a partner within the agency that now has equity within the company. Her name is Destiny. She's amazing. And she came from a competitor of ours. All the other hires as well were actually came from, some of them weren't direct competitors, indirect in certain ways. But yeah, I mean, we're hiring for roles that are within other companies as well. And so it's a battle of talent. It's a war. How do you stay disciplined and avoid distractions like social media with your business in the beginning stages? Just completely get rid of it. Delete. And also just, this is not healthy for some people, but I completely just cut out my social circle and didn't hang out with any friends. I don't know if many people can do that. I'm naturally introverted, so I think that I kind of had the ability to do that, if you're extroverted, maybe that's not a good idea. What works for me is not going to always work for everybody else. There's an important mental model that everybody should understand. It's called the map is not the territory. Essentially what it means is like when you're looking at a GPS, it's a representation of the territory. The map is a representation. It's not the actual territory. And so you really need to always do your own due diligence and just look at the map. That's fine, but also make sure you don't forget about the territory being completely different than the map. That's kind of how I'm building Agency Enlightened. Is Agency Enlightened starts out by saying the map is not the territory, and it progresses to modules that consistently remind people that. And the mental models I'm trying to teach the Agency Enlightened in a way where it's like, I'm not showing you what to do. I'm kind of trying to teach you like the mental model and the thought process behind knowing what you should do given how custom your situation is. Yes, there are things in Agency Enlightened like Trojan horse marketing where it's like, hey, here's a real actual actionable strategy that you can implement today, and I'll show you how to do everything click by click. But what's more important than giving people a tactic that they can follow is giving them the thought process that went into creating that tactic. Trojan horse marketing is a highly effective strategy for acquiring clients. But if you came to me and you said, I can give you an amazing tactic, or I can give you the strategy for coming up with infinite amounts of amazing tactics, which one would you choose? I would hope you would choose the latter, because that is actual, valuable power / knowledge, if you will. So this is why I have this thing taped to my computer. It just says, teach how to fish, and if possible, give them a fish. Remove abstraction and give real examples. So there's that kind of that adage wisdom of like, teach a man how to fish, don't give him a fish. That's kind of like the mistake a lot of courses make, is they give people fish, and like the creators of the course will be like, hey, here's this ABC strategy that worked out for me. And what they don't realize is that what's better than their ABC is like the thought process of creating the ABC. And so that's kind of the missing link that I think, and I've spent over $100,000 on courses. So I've gone through many, and I think that was the number one missing thing, which is why it's taking me a lot to try to build Agency Enlightened, because it's actually a lot more difficult than you think it is to teach people how to actually, the logical, rational thought process behind coming up with something like Trojan horse marketing. Raphael, love your work. How much the commissions on your sales team or reps? We pay out 15% of the first month retainer. It used to be a lot more. We reduced it quite a bit, mainly because we don't have like a sales team. Everyone we hire has been account executives, and they have evolved into something more. So like, I've never hired someone that would come in to be a manager or like a project manager, or like, I don't know. We've always just hired what we really needed, which was account executives who could manage clients. And then we, generally speaking, after some time and they understand our systems and our processes, they can evolve into something more, like a manager or an owner of the agency that actually has equity, or someone who builds software, or someone who builds automations. If you had 0 clients, what would be the first thing you would do to get them? Well, first I would probably look at partnering with a visionary. I'm more of an integrator. My partner Destiny is a visionary, and there's a good book that you should read. It's called Rocket Fuel. It talks about why it's very powerful to partner with someone who's the opposite of you. And then I would probably just fire up Trojan horse marketing. Louis, would you say mass email or personalized Loom copy email outreach works better? Yeah, if you can, like, treasurer's marketing is like automated looms, right? But if you do it and you personalize it, of course it's going to perform better. It's just going to take you longer because you have to be like blah, 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 same time over and over and over. And you're going to go crazy. So, Gyro. Hey, Gyro, you got to hop on a Q&A call sometime, man. I hope you're doing well in Brazil. I hope everything's going well for you. I'm really excited to release Agency Enlightened, and I'd love to get your feedback on it. It's not going to be fully released the end of this month, but it will be released to you and everyone else that was within Legion Enlightened. Whatever we have done, I think it's going to be just about 20% of the program, and then we're going to try to get the rest of it done. But it's great to hear from you. I hope you're doing well. Partner with someone else, Facebook ads. Thanks, man. Love you. Ajay, best movies, documentaries. Bad Blood was a great documentary. Can't think of any more off the top of my head. Alexa, house on.
Okay.
Do you hire good contractors if you can't do the ads yourself, since you have no idea what you're looking for in a contractor? How? You need to hire someone who's an expert if you're not an expert. I learned this hiring a developer. I made the mistake of just hiring a developer and not actually vetting them. Very rookie mistake. It was very, like, it was a very cheap investment. The developer was only charging like $1,000 a month because he lives in Poland, and it's much cheaper cost of living there, etc. So yeah, I was like, okay, we'll try this out. Anyways, it didn't work. And then I was like, okay, I am not making that mistake again. If I need to hire someone that I have no idea how to vet, then I'm going to hire someone who knows how to vet that person. And then you hire someone to vet the person that you want to hire. It's kind of a matrix. What age did you get your first client? 19. Ishan. I don't really understand your question. What are a few ways to keep my first hire with me, given that I train and spend on development rigorously? Would you give equity? Avoid giving equity to your first hire. I made that mistake, and yeah, it didn't work out in the long run. I mean, I could have got lucky and it could have worked out, but it didn't. And yeah, it wasn't necessarily a mistake per se. It was just like, looking back, it was I shouldn't have done it. It was a very close friend of mine, actually, from school, who was willing to just learn the ropes. And I didn't really have the finances to pay him like $4 or $5 grand a month, because the agency was only making like $15,000 a month in revenue. And looking back, I should have just made a commission structure that was, more scalable. Yeah, much love. Giving equity is a very important thing. What I didn't realize is that it's literally like you're getting married. I don't care if you give 1%, but the more percentage, the more serious of the marriage. And don't ever get married in business with someone that is identical to you, in my opinion. Ideally, you want your opposite. Figure out if you're a visionary or an integrator. Gyro, I will hop on a call soon. That'd be great. That would be amazing. While Walt, I've been brainstorming about what to include in the THM video. In between commenting about missing Facebook pixel, Google Ads critique. What would work better? Test both, send 100 of each. Whatever you think is essentially more, I guess, insightful, yet will resonate more with the prospect. Whatever you think is going to resonate more. But if you're not sure, test both. Would you start by yourself, or would you start hiring a good team from the get? Look, if I have money, like starting an agency, I will start by hiring a team. Yes, it would be very different. The agency that I started was bootstrapped, right? Like it was just me. I pretty much had no money, no experience. But if I had money now, given the experience that I have, I would know what to do with it. So yes, I would definitely hire people. If you don't know what to do with the money and if you don't have a lot of experience scaling an agency, then don't try to hire people before you scale it. Right? Unless like you have a friend who has a lot of experience and he wants to help you out, then great. That person has way more experience than you. That's fine. How do you determine how much money to use for monthly ad spend budgets for clients? Depends on their goals. How do you hire someone who knows how to vet a person? That's a good question. Well, yeah, because technically you need to vet the person who's going to vet the person that you want to hire. That's a matrix right there. Look at that. Calm mind. That was a great question. How do you vet the person that's going to vet the person you want to hire? I shouldn't even say this because I think everybody would think I was insane. There's this thing called applied kinesiology, and you can use, it's a very common thing. A lot of doctors use it. I would say it's actually not very common, but it's common. It's not a lot of people know about it. But applied kinesiology is a practice where you can use muscle calibrations to be able to identify if a decision is in your highest and best interest. It's not commonly used for that form. Doctors use applied kinesiology and muscle testing calibrations for identifying like allergies or potential things that are causing illnesses and symptoms within the body, and they'll use this in that way. But Dr. David R. Hawkins is someone who applied kinesiology in a very unique form in which you can use it to calibrate things such as, is it in my highest and best interest to hire this specific person? And so long as you haven't had any caffeine and you had a good night's sleep, you can hit your thymus gland 6 times while smiling, and then it'll activate the certain muscles within the body that you want to use for muscle testing. For me, I'll just use these 2 fingers, the pointer and the middle finger, and then you can push down on them with the other 2 fingers. And I know this probably just sounds absolutely insane, but you can push down on it like this. And if it's strong and you can't if it's strong and you can't push it down, it's a positive, which means the answer is yes. If it's very weak, it's a no. Now, again, keep in mind, this probably sounds very radical and woo-woo, but this is something that doctors use, not in the form of business, but they'll use it like, are you allergic to this? And they will literally do this, or they'll hold your arm out and push down on your wrist, and your deltoid muscle will prevent it from will either go weak or strong. I believe it's the deltoid muscle. I could be wrong. So yeah, all I can say is it's a very proven thing. Many doctors use it. It is not weird, like woo-woo spiritual stuff. So personally, I like to use that, but I also, of course, use logic, and I've vetted a lot of different developers that could vet this person. I found a really amazing developer that had like ridiculous reviews on Upwork. He told me about his experience. He showed me things that he had built. We could never afford him. The dude was like $300 an hour. And I was like, dude, I could never afford you, but like, could you please vet a developer for me? And he agreed. And so we paid him $300 an hour, something like that. Maybe it was 200. And that was the guy who vetted our developers. And our developers that we hired so far has been great. We'll see what it comes to in the next coming months. How many pages does your service agreement have? I think it's like 6 pages. You can read it in like 6 minutes. What was the remote viewing course that you took? It's by Gerald O'Donnell. It's called, the remote viewing course is, you go to probablefuture.com, probablefuture.com. That was the remote viewing course that I took. Ishan, would you consider creating something like a Slack channel for your YouTube subs? We could send things like our copy or Trojan horse video structures and getting them vetted by each other. Would that work? It's a good idea. I don't have time to be in there and respond. Like I could make time, but I mean, honestly, like maybe the Slack channel would be used for ideas. I would love that. Just to get video ideas, and I could then make videos about them because that actually helps people. I don't really like answering one-on-one questions in the DMs because it doesn't serve many people. Like this is a video that will be published on YouTube and maybe a few hundred people watch it. And yeah, so it serves a lot more people than if someone sends me a message in a Slack channel. I understand the Slack channel could build to be something much bigger, but Slack doesn't really have any half-life in terms of like the content that gets put into a channel. Like on YouTube, if you publish a video on YouTube, I mean, it gets views for years. So part of me, although I'm trying to give amazing value for free on YouTube, I am also trying to build an audience in the most fastest way possible. Gyro, how do you know this thing? I'm assuming you're referencing to the muscle testing, applied kinesiology. I just read a lot about it and then practiced it. If you want to read more about that, you can read. This is kind of an older book. This is when applied kinesiology started happening. John Diamond is the doctor who originally started to like realize how amazing muscle testing and calibrating is and how doctors can use it to heal, stuff. And if you want to go way deeper, Power versus Force talks about it as well. I'm really happy to hear from you, Gyro. Waleed. I mean, you just need to have good systems and processes, Waleed. And good clients that aren't too, time intensive. Ishan, we could get it vetted by each other in the Slack channel. You don't need to be there all the time. If you get good questions there, it could be a good video topic, like you mentioned. Also a good way to vet true fans and get a boost to the initial sales for your upcoming course. I'm going to be honest, like if the course launches and makes millions of dollars, great. If it launches and only 2 people join, that's great. I love the course and I'm putting a lot of energy into building it, but yeah, it's definitely not the main thing. The main thing will always be the agency. So for me, like the marketing of Agency Enlightened is great. I think it's going to be an important thing, but I think I'm going to stick to YouTube and organic content. I'll think about the Slack channel though. I see where you're going with it, and it could definitely have its uses, but I don't want to commit to something that would end up getting shut down, and that would piss people off. So I'd have to think more about how we could use it. Walt, what are your thoughts about AI and new tech changing the marketing space in the future? Would a part of the industry be disrupted or go hand in hand? Yes, you said it best. I mean, marketers would end up using it. I think there might be a day where AI really does replace, I don't know, advertising agencies. I honestly, it's difficult. I don't think AI could like replace creative ad agencies, because we're talking about creatives. Like that's something that is creative. I don't know how AI could come up with like creative ideas on how to create an epic video ad, or how it could even make a video ad. But I know there are certain things that you're probably referencing to, like bid management or things like optimizing ads, optimizing landing pages. I think it would go hand in hand. I think marketers would use it personally, but probably not the best person to ask. That's a very futuristic question. Interesting to think about. You guys, this has been amazing. There's many questions, but I am going to eat dinner. This has been an epic 47 minutes with all of you. I send my love, and hopefully this was worth some of your guys' time. I enjoyed it. All right, much love, you guys. I will probably try to go live at least maybe once a week or something. So Zenji, you are welcome. I appreciate all you guys coming on. Much love. See you soon.